I'm so excited to chat with Sarah Tricker on the Awaken Feminine podcast. Sarah is the founder of Sarah Tricker Alchemy. She's a healer, fifth generation medium, spiritual life coach, high priestess, senior executive contributor for Brainz Magazine, and a #1 international best-selling author. Sarah has created rituals to empower the feminine and masculine divine who are struggling to find their authenticity and life purpose, and helps her clients to connect with their inner wisdom and think bigger. And I know she has so much love and wisdom to share with us. She's joining me all the way from Alberta, Canada. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. We've been excited for this.
Oh yeah, we've been talking for like nearly 10 minutes and I'm like, I think I better hit record.
We did half the session before we started.
I know, we always do this. This is like the third time I've connected with Sarah online, and we just like get on like a house on fire. So just super excited for our conversation. But before we do dive in, I'd love to know, what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
I think my personal definition of an awakened feminine is somebody who connects with their intuition again, and they start to trust that intuition and know that it is lifetimes of wisdom. That just made me have like goosebumps even just saying that.
Yeah, I've got them. Yeah. Oh, I love that definition. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, we're really excited about the topic we're talking about today, because we're talking about business and the realities of being a business owner, especially an online business owner, I think is, yeah. And yeah, Sarah, do you want to have tell us why you wanted to really talk about this topic today on the podcast?
I think personally, because the last few years I have been through an ebb in my business, shall we say, and we all know why that's happened since 2020 up until this point. But I actually had a storefront. So I opened a storefront in 2017 and I closed it 2020. And that was a huge trauma actually for me, because it was my dream. You know what I mean? I was building like this Harry Potter school, and I'd got this massive space on Main Street in the little town that I live in near Fort McLeod in Alberta, and it was it. So I remember moving into that store and being like, wow, this is it, I've got it. And then 2020 came and like everything changed, and I ended up closing my store. So as COVID came out, I was literally in the process of closing my store. It was just painful, scary. I was like, and so that process, so from 2020 up until 2022, that process has been such a massive healing journey for me. And when I think about being an entrepreneur, especially a female entrepreneur, because there's this part of being a female entrepreneur where our businesses are us. They're an extension of us. They're a piece of us. And one of the things that I had no idea about when I left my teaching career in like 2016 was how much of a healing journey it was going to be, a personal journey. And it's like a lot of the times, everything that happens in my business is actually nothing to do with my business. It's actually all about me. And we live in this world where, we consume on social media all the time, and it's this perfect view, and you see it all the time. Join my program to hit 6 figures, or I made $1 million in 90 days, do this and you can do that. And then you see all of these business women just portraying this picture of perfection, and it's really fucking hard. It's really hard, you know what I mean? And I think that maybe there needs to be some more authenticity in that, in the communities where, especially where women are coming together because they are entrepreneurs or because they want to start a business.
Yeah, no, I love that. When you told me that's what you wanted to talk about, I'm like, yes, because I mean, as much as I love the online space and I love seeing the women and the men who are doing amazing things in business, there's the people that are starting or the people that have been struggling to, you know, in their business for many years, going, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why am I not, you know, getting to the income that I am worthy of, that I want? And it's like, well, the people that you are seeing, like you're saying, is social media. We have to remember that social media is not real life.
And it kind of isn't though, right?
Yes, it's like this warped sense of reality that we live in, where people see things on social media, and unless you have this really strong awareness and also grounding, you need to see through all the, you know, all the amazing things that they're showing you. Because I know for one, there are people that come together in a group that might hire a really nice hotel just to like take photos and goes, we were here, but they actually were a group of people that paid for that one room to then take photos.
I just like, personally, I can't do it. I'm one of those people. I do believe I wear my heart on my sleeve all the time. And I can't even imagine, you know, as I've been going through this journey myself, I can't even imagine lying to my clients and my soul contracts about who I am and what I do. Because I think, you know, when people are looking, especially for healers, when people are looking for healers, they're looking for authenticity, for people that have been where it is and where they are. That's why I like, because, you know, and that's what I was saying to you, is like that birth, death, and transformation. Like it's a cycle, and I think if people know that, or if they were more, you know, they heard people speak about it more. You know, before we started this conversation, we were talking about the law of attraction. And you know, and that's one of the biggest things, because and we were also talking about, you know, the human gene, right? So it's like, I am a generator. And I remember doing this session with this lady, and bless her heart, she really opened my eyes into life. And she's like, look on your bookcase. So I'm like, turn around, I look on my bookcase, and she's like, I bet you've got loads of like personal development books and strategies and how to manifest this and how to manifest that. And I'm looking at my bookshelf going, maybe. And she's like, they're all written by manifestors. She's like, you're a generator. So she's like, those books aren't going to help you.
You're like, damn it.
You know, and and isn't that like the crux of it, is we want the one fixed pill. Like we all want the one fixed pill. And I used to really, you know, like energetically, when you think about that saying of like, it takes 20 years to become an overnight success. And then I was like, oh, that's just energetically, that's so bad, because it's saying it's going to take forever. But now, like, I mean, I'm in year 7 going into year 8 in my business. I'm like, yeah, I can see why they say it takes 20 years to become an overnight success, right?
Yeah. And we were talking before about law of attraction before we jumped on the podcast. Well, before I hit record, and we're like, damn it, we should have like hit record before, because it was like, oh yeah. But it's not just about the law of attraction, really, because there's all the other components that come into play. Like I was saying, like your soul contracts, your life lessons, karma, all these things come into play. And it's not, yes, law of attraction, if you have your energy in the right place, you know, it's going to help get you through your lessons and work through, you know, whatever you need to work through. But it's not just that.
And I think it's that aspect of, you know, we do things like gratitude, we do meditation, we're doing all of the things to help our bodies feel good. Sometimes it isn't just thinking positive that is going to bring things into your life. It's kind of, and it's, you know, it really relates to what we're saying about social media, because they, you know, we got like 13 universal laws. Law of attraction is one of them, and it doesn't work singularly on its own, but social media like really pays attention to that one thing. And then, you know, as you say, you're kind of looking at it and go, well, well, I'm a piece. What am I doing? Why isn't this working?
You
I
can
must
swear
be
on my
doing...
podcast.
I can.
I just thought I'd mention that.
But we do. We feel like that we are just unworthy and that we're not doing things right. And, you know, that's my whole thing about places we go to meet other entrepreneurs. And it's not all roses and it's not all sunshine. And it really, like, it's fucking hard work. Like, it really is. But I don't think anybody really prepares you for that. And in the spaces I've been, I've not seen it anyway. So if there's people out there preparing you for that, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What I've learned is that, you know, there are the people that can just get things done like that, or, you know, change their life like that. But there's also the things that they were doing leading up to that point to get them ready. It might not be in business per se. They just kind of did all the things and then suddenly they were thrown into business. And then because of all the things that they've done before, they were able to just change their life around really quickly. And sometimes people also go through, like, they're in business, they started their business, but then they still would have had to go through a learning curve. They would have had to do all the things. And some people pick things up faster than the others, or, you know, their life path, their you know, their souls, you know, their soul was here to experience that, you know, that quick success. But you don't know also what's going to happen after, because they might experience a quick success, but it might also be a quick failure to then prepare them for their next, you know, part of their journey. So I think for me, when I see, you know, all these beautiful people online saying, oh, if you're not successful, like within, like, you know, 6 months, then it's your problem. Well, no. You're also not telling us the truth about everything that you've done or all the help that you've been able to get, because some people come, like, start a business and they have all the resources to start a business. They may have like hundreds of thousands of dollars to, you know, put in and get everything set up for them, instead of like people like us, where we are, you know, starting from scratch. We are building our business with our own money, and, or, you know, as money comes in, we use it for our business, whatever it is. And what I'm finding is that there's this rise of, I haven't really been into contact with men, but I know there's soul-led men as well, but soul-led women entrepreneurs, where they're not I'm always dressed up and my hair's perfect, you know, makeup, Botox, whatever. I'm not judging those people. If that's who you are, that's fine. I look at them, I'm like, that's so tiring. I don't want to do that. You know?
It's funny when you say about like the whole, I remember when I was a teacher, and when I was a teacher, every day I'd do my hair, put my makeup on, go to work, come home. And then when I started my business, I was like, hi, I don't have to do that anymore. But it was interesting in my journey, moving from like working for a government system in a box that was so small. I always laugh when I was like, why the heck do they put teaching of all things? Like, I'm so not a teacher, covered in tattoos, you know what I mean? Outspoken. And but I realized later on, as I was doing my healing, it was a mask. It was a mask that I was putting on every day to be, and this is my experience, right? Not saying that that's why other people do that, but for me, it was literally a mask I was putting on every day to do a job that I wasn't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know? And when you think about that sort of birth, death, transformation, you know, you come to those points in life, I think all of us do, where we're propelled into something else that we're supposed to be doing. And thinking about being an entrepreneur, like, you know, because I want to leave your audience with some things they can take away from this as well, is that how do we know if like we're to continue doing this? Because that was one of the other things we were talking about right before we started. And it's like, the end of 2022, I actually, and I've never had to do this in my business, had to dip into some of my personal savings to kind of keep me going through December. And I remember that feeling of absolute, like, I am a failure, my business isn't, what am I doing? But I never had that thought of like, that's it, I'm quitting, it's time to go. Like, I still have that real like inner wisdom or draw that I'm supposed to be of service to people. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And that it just reminds me of that meme. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And it's like two pictures on top of each other, and there's a man digging. And then there's the pot of gold, and you've got one man walking away, and he's like that far away from the pot of the gold, and everyone else is digging. And that was kind of like my thoughts. It's like, you know, you never know how far away, but how do you know when to quit? So my interpretation of that is like, you know, at your soul level what your purpose is. And it feels cruel. Sometimes I'm like, I'm sure the universe is just like, how much do you want this? Like, how much do you really want? How much are you willing to suffer before? How much are you willing to go through?
I know. And it's quite funny how, you know, probably something to mention is like when you started your business, your income and your business was like going up. So yes. For you at 2022 to have to go, what the F, like, you know, what just happened, right? To have to dip into your savings is like, okay. And for you to go, well, I don't want to quit. This is what I'm here to do. And for me, like we were talking about before, like and like this last probably a few months for me, my business is like, am I meant to be teaching people how to trade? And then I've been pulled into a completely different direction for 2023 because there's like, as I took the time off in December, like all these things kept coming to me, and it was like, you need to change your path. And that sometimes that's what it is like, yeah, you had the success, and now it's time to go on the real path that you're meant to go on, or the, you know, the next part of your journey. So it's like, right. But I don't, you know,
that wasn't my plan though. Yeah. That's, you know, that's the same experience I had with the store, because I always say, never say never when you're a business owner, because that doesn't work. So I was never going to have a store, and I ended up having a store. And when I moved into this last place, so I actually moved my store. Now, Fort McLeod is really small. It's like 3,600 people. Like, it's not a big town, right? So you can see, I started with this tiny little store. It was like 300 square foot, and it was next to a barber's. It was hilarious because, you know, you've got all these men going into this store, and then this healing store right next to them. It worked because the energy balanced, right? But I grew out of that store. So I moved into, so this was January 2019. I moved into an old chiropractor's, and it was perfect. So like the reception area, I made into like a mini store. And then I had all of these like rooms, and I had like a meditation room and a coaching room and a Reiki room. It was an office. That was the first office I ever had, proper office, right? And I outgrew that space. So I moved into this massive space in the August of 2019. And I remember my friend, she does numerology. So I'd messaged her and said like, hey, this is the address of the store. Is it a good number? She didn't reply. I went and looked at it, signed the contract, right? And then she replies, oh no, this isn't a good space. And I was like, nah, it'll be fine. So that was the first thing, right? I had somebody, my friend who does numerology, being like, no. And then I put an order in for the store, and this pendulum came in, and it had like a dragon on it, and it was a shungite. I was like, oh, I really like that pendulum. So I kept it for myself. Started wearing it on my necklace. So I just pinned it to my necklace. And I remember one of my students saying to me, why are you wearing that? You don't wear stuff like that. And I was like, oh, no, I just liked it, right? And then the third thing that happened, and this is all hindsight, obviously. The third thing that happened is like every time I was doing a reading, like the tower card was falling out of the
Of course it was.
right. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this shit's gonna happen, and I keep putting it up, going, well, this doesn't make any sense. Shoves it back in the deck, and then when the January came, and I don't know other people's experience of the year 2020. But 2019, like my income, I had almost hit the same income I did as a teacher when I left. So in Alberta here, they pay pretty good, right, for teaching. So I was like top of the world, like, yeah, man, I've done it. Like I've made my income up. And then 2020, the energy just shifted, like right as the new year came in, and then I had trouble with staff and students dropped out of my programs, and February I handed my notice in, March I was closing the store, and it was just this whole shift. But when we talk about like, how do you know when you're supposed to be moving and changing? Like the signs were there.
Yeah.
I just didn't pay any attention to.
Yes, it was there. Oh, three like things that was, but the thing is, I think a lot of times when we're stuck in that headspace of it's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work, and you're refusing to let go and you're trying to control it, we refuse to see the signs.
Yeah.
And
then the universe basically kicks us in the ass. That's always what I tell people. If the tower ever comes out, I say to people, here is your warning. If there's something you should be doing, do it.
Yeah.
You don't want the universe doing it for you because it's painful and ugly. But I think for me, it had to be painful and ugly because I am stubborn and I want to be successful, and I will do what needs to be done to be successful.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women that I know in the business space, that's why we are in business, because we are stubborn and ambitious and and because we will go and get it done. But then it's like, okay, well, is asking ourselves, is this really our right path? And like what you do in your teachings is like really connecting with our inner wisdom and being okay with changing paths as well. So you're now going through this transition, like where you're like, okay, like I'm still going to do this because this is what I'm meant to do. And for me is like, oh, okay, I'm being pulled into another direction. But at the same time, it's like, but my program is also being pulled in a different direction, still on the same path of like teaching people, but in a different way. So
and I think when you think about that, because it's not like you've quit your business though. You know what I mean? It's not like, yeah, I'm done with this, I'm going back to being employed and getting a paycheck. I can't even imagine. That seems like my worst nightmare. You can't tell me what to do. I've been self-employed for 7 years. But it's like, and even I think I can relate to that as well. So when I first started, when I left teaching, all I did was read tarot. And my vision in I think it was October 2015. So I'd started my business July 2015. October 2015, I went on like this personal development weekend thing. And I had this vision while I was in there. My dear husband, I love him to bits, because we come out of I go into that a teacher, and I come out and being like, I think I want to be like $1 million tarot reader.
And he's like, what?
Well, no, he's like, yeah, we've been together a long time. He's like, yeah, okay, babe, whatever.
That sounds like my husband.
We laugh about that. So I've been thinking, my husband's worse. No, what have you been thinking about? What are we doing? How's it changing us?
Yes, that's my husband too. Because I'll be like, I've got this idea. He's like,
oh God.
Yeah.
So yeah, So that was the October 2015. So when I left teaching in the June 30th, 2016, that was my vision. I was going to be like this $1 million tarot reader. And then when I left teaching, I didn't realize how much that space had like crushed my soul. And that was really when my connection to like spirit started to open up again. And then I did, then I was called to do Reiki. So I did my Reiki training. And then I went on like this weekend, like this woman did like a business, soulful women business weekend. And that's how I went into coaching. And it was like, and when I first started coaching as well, I came out of that being like, this is the missing piece. Because you think how many mediums there are and tarot readers and Reiki masters, like there's like millions of us, which is not a bad thing because we need healers. We need lots of healers, right? But it's like, how do I pivot myself as something different? So when I did my coaching, and I remember, it's hilarious when I think back of it. So obviously this coaching program I did, they get like, here you go, here's your process. This is how you coach. So I come out and then I've got clients signing up who I'd been doing cards and Reiki and mediumship for a year or so. And so there was this first part of it, and it was like the wellness wheel. And in this coaching program I went on, that's a one session, right? The wellness wheel. So anyway, I get into the wellness wheel, and I'm like, whoa, man, this is like 6 or 7 sessions. Like, you can't do this in 1 hour. What's wrong with these people? You know what I mean? But like but it's taken since 2017 when I did my coaching to this like the end of last year and into this year, really to have super clarity in what I do and how I do it. And you know, when you say that, it's like this pivoting, it changes all the time. And I was saying to my web designer, God, you must hate me, because I'm like, I've had an idea. She's like, no, it's good. She's like, that's business. It changes, it pivots and changes. And you know, I've released a lot of stuff in my business. Like I taught how to read the tarot, how to become a medium, how to become a Reiki master. Like I've got like 150 people I've attuned to Reiki over the past sort of 3 or 4 years, right? So I don't do that anymore. That's not who I am. People are looking at me going like, what do you mean? But you're a teacher. You went to school. You got an education degree. And I'm like, yeah, but life is more than that. It's not about information anymore, right? Yeah. There's so much information in the world. Everybody has information freely at their fingertips. It's about transformation now.
It is. It's funny because you were a teacher, I was a pharmacist, and my whole outlook of life changed after I left pharmacy. Like just even looking at like Western medicine, and you know, I still think, you know, it's great and it has its place and all the advancements, but it's not just Western medicine. It's this holistic approach of, you know, of health and wellness. So it's really funny when you're like entrenched in that industry, how much it affects your thinking. And I mean, being a pharmacist, energy, Reiki, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, for sure. I remember when people talked about it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then when you go and have your first session and you feel all the feels and you're going, oh, okay, what is happening? You know, so it's like you say, you know, you change and you pivot, and looking at a lot of the soul-led women, entrepreneurs, not just women, is like, well, and what you're saying about business is an extension of ourselves, is like, well, as we are changing, our business is changing. And really, like, what I see for me, like this year, like as I was getting all the downloads in, you know, December when I was taking the time off, of course I was, it was like, oh, right, I'm not putting myself in that business box anymore.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I think that's the thing, is like when we take our conversation back to like social media, when we take it back to like the law of attraction, you know, we like put this mask on in the world of like who we are and what we are. And as you say, like, you know, you coming out of being a pharmacist, me coming out of being an educator, well, I mean, that was so far left in the thinking. And, you know, we were having this conversation earlier, and it was like, you know, I'm an empty nester. My kids have left home. I've got grandchildren. I know.
Yeah, I still can't believe you have grandchildren. But anyway,
she's only 7 months, but whatever. So when I shut my store down and came home, the pressure was taken off me to be like this badass entrepreneur who has to like crush it all the time. And then I just came home, and it took me, because we're in renovations this year, we're going to finish the renovations. That's our goal. So when I moved my 3,700 square foot store into one room in my house. Oh my God. It took me months to sort, and I'm moving stuff all around my house. It was a freaking nightmare. But when I came home, then it was like, I remembered what it was like to be a housewife, right? When my kids were very little. So I had the opportunity. I stayed at home for the first 5 years with my little ones. And I started like, my house is clean and organized again. I'm like, I like this. And then I have time to cook. And if I get up, you know, like I have a structure. Obviously, you can't be self-employed and work at home and not have a structure, because you would not get anything done. But I have flexibility in my structure as well. So, you know, like today my day looked a little bit different because I was doing this afternoon, and like tomorrow it will look a bit different. However, I can do that because I'm self-employed. And then just watching how my husband changed with me being at home, you know what I mean? And he just like 2021, like that was like he beat all the records in sales in his store. And then I started to kind of really think about, you know what, I really do think women have been lied to. I think modern feminism, where we're told, and I say modern feminism, like I'm not talking about like the suffragettes, when we're talking about like equal opportunity, but we don't have equal opportunity as women now, because we're expected to be the perfect wife, the perfect career woman, the perfect housewife, the perfect mother, and we're expected to do all of those jobs to perfection. There's just not enough hours in the day. And then women who choose to stay at home, oh, you're just a housewife. Or women who choose to go on their career and they don't have children, oh, well, you're selfish. Do you know what I mean? And it's like there's so many expectations on women now. And I've really shifted from my leftist viewpoint. And I'm kind of like, I've come a bit more like traditionalist now, right? And I'm like, but I think, you know, that's really the work I'm doing with women now. Because I think about like that enlightened, magical women, or like woman, where you get to discover who you are and what your soul purpose is. But you also have the time to slow down and not have to be this perfect person. Goes back to what we were talking about with the makeup, right?
Yeah.
How tiring that is.
Yes. I mean, saying that, I do have makeup on and my hair is done, but that's just something I like to do for my podcast. And it's not like every day. Yeah. And it's not like, you know, every day when I you know, when and if I show up on social media. It's not every day.
It's choice.
Yeah. You know, you'll see me with no makeup on, you know, because I'm like, I can't fucking be bothered like going and putting it on just to like do a video. Whereas like before, when I first started, it was like, oh, I need to look a certain way. I need to look good because I'm putting my face out. I was like, well, one, I'm a mum. I'm freaking tired. My husband works away. You know, I have like 2 minutes now. Like, let's just do this and get it over and done with, you know, and that's how it is. And, you know, your kids are, you know, have left the nest. My kids are just started in this, right? I've got a 7 and 3-year-old. And, you know, in terms of like also talking about authenticity in business and the ebbs and flows, I mean, I'm someone that wants stuff done and achieved 2, 3 years, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But you have to also be realistic in where you are in your life in terms of, you know, where you want to be, because I don't want to miss out on my time with my kids. At the same time, I want to grow my business. How does that work? Well, unless you actually do have a lot of help, you're not going to be skyrocketing to $1 million because you have kids that you need to look after.
Yeah.
Who, you know, they're not going to understand mummy's doing a live right now. Don't come in and disturb her. Do you know like what I mean? Like, so there's also this piece where there's, you know, if you actually look at a lot of the very, you know, I'll say successful women out there, they either have been doing it for a while and they've got to the point where they can like grow their business because they can afford help, or they have that time, or they it's not, and or they'd have no kids, you know. Really, like there's quite
honestly.
there's quite a few that, you know, women that I love, and my mentor, like Regan Healy was like my first mentor, and I love her to bits. She's freaking amazing. If you don't know her, check her out. But you know, she doesn't have kids, so her way of doing things sometimes I can't do because it's like, well, I have 2 kids. I don't have like, well, I don't have her resources, one, but I also like don't have the time.
Yeah.
You know, the freedom in terms of like, I can't just go travel because I need to go, okay, where do I put my kids? Do I take them with me? Or like, you know, there's all these other considerations when you're a mum.
100%.
So I think there's that also that piece in talking honestly about, well, if you're this successful and you're a mother, like what are the things that you're doing? Because it's like, oh no, I just do it all. But you can't. You, like you say, we're not superwomen. We can't do it all. Like,
well, you think about just maintaining a house. Like that's a full-time job in itself without having children in it. So now you add the children into it. So then there's this whirlwind of like children through your house. So you can't have a perfect house and have children. And then even if you think about like the hours, well, kids go to bed, depending on your routine, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. But you've probably been up since 6 o'clock in the morning. So you're exhausted. So what are you going to do? Put another 5 hours into your business before you go to bed? Like it's... Yeah. As I say, these expectations that have been put upon women in society, I think they're unrealistic. And maybe that's how this relates to our conversation today about being a businesswoman. Like as women, we show up to business very differently than men. Like a lot of men, and as I say, like this is just my experience, right? A lot of men are like, they're not emotionally attached to their businesses. Businesses are businesses. Businesses are there to make money. If they don't make money, whatever, we shut that business down and we'll go bankrupt and we'll start another business, or we'll, you know, it's very matter of fact in that way. Whereas women, like, you know, you think about like the womb. Well, we birth a business, we like carry it and we nurture it. So whenever anything happens in our business, and, you know, our conversation the last couple of years, it hurts. It like really hurts because it's like, what have I done wrong? Haven't done it right. Should have done this. Maybe I didn't do that. You know, and then social media, like sometimes people say things and we take it to heart because this is our baby you're talking about. Don't talk about my baby like that. And it's but it is part of that. My thought pattern went off then because I was talking about baby. That's too funny. And the nurturing. No, it's gone. What was the thought? What was I saying? How did I start it? It's gone.
I lost it too. We're talking about social media and the men, how men do their business differently. Yeah, we've completely lost that
That
train.
we've lost that.
That train
At the
has
moment,
like just gone
it
down the
wasn't. It
track.
wasn't a good thought, and then I'll get it back in a minute. Hey, we've done pretty well to get to this point. I've only lost one thought.
Yes, that is very good. But yeah, I was gonna say something and then I forgot as well. We're just gonna like, but in terms of like yeah, I just think with business, and I want to say that we're not complaining about other people. We're not like, people do things. Like I said, everyone has their life journey, and this person is a quick manifester. This person is not. This person needs to go through this and that, the other. But it's just talking about the reality of doing, like, of starting your own business, of doing business, that is not rainbows and butterflies. It's not like overnight success. It's not, hey, follow this sales script and then you're gonna, like, every single client's gonna convert, because no, that's not, and you can't use the same sales script. Right?
And I think it goes back to that, doesn't it? That authenticity. It's like we have to stop comparing ourselves to other people is the first thing, because, and this goes way back to the beginning of our conversation, we're all on our own life journey here. And we're all going to go through cycles, and our cycles are going to look different. Like your success to my success could be like completely different. Your breakthroughs are going to look different to my breakthroughs. Your deaths are going to look very different to my deaths, right? And I think, when you think about what can you take away, is that, your cycle, your ebbs, your flows are very different to other people. As women, stop comparing. Like I did it this morning. Okay, this is one of the frequencies I've been working through is envy. So envy is carried through the feminine side. So it's something I've been working on for a while. And I had looked at somebody's Facebook post. So I'd put a Facebook post out. Obviously, it's a new year. I tagged all the people I knew who were entrepreneurs. And it's like, what's your new word? How's you doing?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And then one of the ladies I tagged, and I didn't check when her post was written, but she wrote something very similar. And then she had like 32 comments on hers, and I had like 12 on mine. And that first instinct was like, oh, well, how comes hers was more successful than mine? Do you know what I mean? And it's like that comparison. Her community is like massive compared to mine. You know what I mean? She has like a far-reaching, like her personal page is massive compared to mine. But it's that we're still taught, I think, to compare ourselves to other women. Yeah. And it's that instant of like, she's on a different journey than I am. Why am I comparing our two posts? Is that like they're the same thing?
Yes. And that that comparison is normal. Like we will do it like subconsciously, like, but is being aware of it and not then having a pity party. Not going and then staying in that, because that's what kills a lot of entrepreneurs, is like, oh, I'm not there, but you haven't seen what this person has gone through. Yes, they haven't put on social media, or you don't know about it, but they would have had to walk a journey to get to where they are, and you didn't know like the extent of what they went through, so you can't compare their success now with where you are if you had just started, because it's easy, because you see all the bright sparkly lights, and it's attractive. Bling and sparkles and rainbows and butterflies and unicorns are attractive.
And sitting on the beach for just 15 minutes a day to run your business, that's not true.
Yeah, it is very attractive, and there, yes, there will be people that do just sit on the beach for 15 minutes a day, but they would have had to go through a lot before they got to that point where they could do that, But
they probably got a whole team as well.
Yes, exactly. Right? So they're running like a multi-million or billion-dollar business. You're like not even made you know, $1. So let's, you know, it's really getting back to like what you're saying with what you do, like getting back into connecting to your inner wisdom. Yes, think big, but also be realistic about where you are and being grounded, because when your thoughts are out there comparing and doing all the things, you're not grounded in your body.
And it's kind of like that one day at a time. And, you know, it just reminds me of that saying, we hear it all the time, like yesterday's already gone, tomorrow's it's not even guaranteed. And all we have today is today. And it's like, how much time is wasted on, like, I'm terrible for it, okay? I'm like, I'm 25 years down the road. I've got like everything planned out. I've got my steps. I know how I'm gonna get there. I know which way I'm going, how it's gonna be done. And really, like, I've had to, through being an entrepreneur, and, you know, like when I was a teacher, it was all structured, but being through an entrepreneur, I've had to learn, like, I can't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. All I can do is get up today and, you know, this is what I'm putting into my business today, and trust that that's enough. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that the universe will provide, right? You know, you put the work in. I don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, as I say, 7 years going on into 8 years.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, we never know how far away, and what do we truly want for success? You know, and you know, me and my husband have had that conversation a million times. You look at like multi-million-dollar companies, like, do I want other people coaching for me, or do I want to continue to coach for myself? Like, obviously I want to expand and grow. Do I want to have staff doing all of these jobs? Because I've done that and it didn't work out very well. You know, I've got my web designer, bless her. She's my angel, and we've been working together for years now. It's like, I haven't found anyone else like her who I would trust enough to do. But it's like, what do you want? Do you actually want to be a millionaire? Do you really just want to have time? Do you want to create comfort in your life? Are you setting up your retirement? Are you setting up your business so that you can get passive income, and that one time that you will be able to step back and it will be able to continue and create? And I think that's important as well. But also knowing that can change.
Yes.
Never say never when you're a business. I'm never going to do this, because you're probably going to do that.
And I don't think it's just business. I think in life as well, never say never. Yeah, just in general, don't say never. Because you'll do it. You'll do it. Because I was, as I say, never. My husband was a milkman, right? When we lived back in England, he had a milk ground. And that was a franchise. And we came out of that. It's like, we're never doing that again. We're never going to have our own businesses. And then, you know, there you go. In 2015, I've got my own business. Never going to have a store. 2017, I opened a store. I'm never going to work from home and have people come to my house. There you go. 2020, I'm working from home and have people maybe you need to say never so that it happens. Maybe that's the magic. I'm never going to whatever.
Be a millionaire.
Maybe we've uncovered something here.
You know how we started talking about the law of attraction? We're doing reverse osmosis.
Yes, because we're bringing all the other universal laws in. Because when you say I'm never going to do it, you concentrate, you're focusing on that, right?
Yeah. And then you manifest it. Yeah, it is super interesting. It's a journey, and I think that's really what I wanted people to know. And it's funny because this year I was looking at social media, and so last year I created a TikTok account, right? So over Christmas I always do a blackout on social media to break the habit. And I said to my husband, it's really hard, because I kept picking up my phone. I was like, no, and then put it away. And then January came, I was like, no, I'm deleting TikTok. Like, that's just wasted so many hours of my life. And I was going to actually probably shut down LinkedIn and Instagram for a little while. And I was just putting all my focus into Facebook, right? So that's where I find people. That's where I've got the best conversions, right? And I was like, Okay, so I found out through some learning I was doing over the holidays that how you interact on your personal Facebook page actually affects how your business page, how successful your business page is, and how many people see your posts. So I was like, okay, so I've got to like really work on the two together. So I was trying to figure out a way to separate my personal page and my business page, but I can't, because the two are the same. Like, I am my business. So it's like, it's been really interesting in like how I pivot the two together.
Yes, it is
You know?
so interesting. And that's probably another like topic that we can go on and on about. And I feel like you need to come back and talk about something else because I'm just looking at the time and going, I want to keep talking, but I also need to wrap this up. But
This is
you know,
part one.
yeah, this is part one. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you want, want to add, or what is the, the main takeaway for our listeners for today's conversation?
I think the main thing I'd like all of you to walk away with today is that everything happens in cycles. So there is going to be times of death where we have to leave something behind. There's going to be times of birth where we nurture something new, and transformation, just like you've gone through, where it pivots and changes. Just know that do your best to live one day at a time, and know that if we can do our best to do that, and know that we do go through all the emotions as a human being. So there's times of sadness, times of joy, times of growth, times of shadow work and going within. That if you start to like look at your cycles and then just be with them. And I say this as a controller. Try not to control your cycles. Allow them to just unfold.
Yes. I hear you, because I am also recovering controller.
I don't know if we ever get away from it, but definitely we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah.
But that enlightened, magical woman is like, we, find who you are, find what your purpose is, and you don't have to do it all. Just know that you've been lied to, and you're not a bad person if you want to give up something in your life and focus on something else.
Yes. Thank you. That's such a beautiful takeaway. And yeah, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. It's always so much fun, chatting to you. I just love your energy and, all the wisdom that you've shared with us today. If people want to find out more about you or how they can work with you, where is the best place to go?
𝐒𝐚𝐫𝐢𝐜₀.com. So that's my website that has everything I do. Or you can friend me on Facebook, Sarah Tricker, and then my business page, Sarah Tricker Alchemy.
Perfect.
It's all Sarah Tricker Alchemy. Google Sarah Tricker Alchemy and you'll find me.
Yeah, and you'll find Sarah. So thank you once again. I'll have all your details in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And thank you for this amazing conversation.
Thanks, Zen.